What's up, everyone? As always, I'm your host, Jay Griffith, and welcome back around to another edition of the Sports Report. Things haven't changed since you last joined us. It is another busy week in Lynx sports. First off, the volleyball team was in action this past week, taking on William Woods, looking to improve their overall record and their conference record. We'll have a preview of that, as well as welcome out star outside hitter Tori Johnson to the desk to talk volleyball. Also, your men's and women's soccer teams were in action this past week, both taking on Hannibal LaGrange. Two very different outcomes, though, as we will have full recaps of those games, as well as preview their next matchups here at home. Also, football is coming off their bye week and prepping for Missouri Baptist, a team they shellacked last season and picked up the win. We'll have Coach Carlson at the desk to talk how they're preparing for MoBap. And Justin Tourneau also caught up with Devin Jackson to talk football during the bye week. Coach Pat Clifton will be at the desk to talk rugby, as his men's rugby team is coming off a huge win against DePaul here at home this past Saturday, one that saw the Lynx keep their undefeated record as well as their 11th national ranking in the country. Also, Lawson Warren will come to the desk to talk basketball, as yes, basketball is right around the corner. As you can tell, it's another busy week here on the set of the Sports Report, so let's go ahead and get right to it, starting with volleyball. The women's volleyball team was in action last night, this past Tuesday, as they took on conference foe William Woods, looking to improve upon their coming into the game 3-16 record on the season, trying to get the big win in conference. And unfortunately, William Woods had other plans, as they would beat the Lady Lynx 3 games to 1, as the Lynx would win the first set and then drop the next few and drop to 3-17 on the year. As you can see, the graphic pops up on your screen. Let's welcome on to the desk now Tori Johnson, one of the star players of the team, outside hitter. And Tori, obviously, you're injured right now, so we couldn't do a whole lot in last night's game except sit and watch. But why don't you go full coach mode for us for a second, because you got a chance to sit and watch from the sidelines. We'll start off with the bad. What did you see that was not so great that the team did last night that you guys need to improve upon?
It's just, honestly, our perspective. Coach tells us to look on the floor as we hit, try to find the open holes, and we were just hitting directly to people, sitting in front of their lap. So that's obviously as a key that we need to work on, is opening the floor, seeing what's open, and trying to tool their key on their terrible, they're terrible, but they're weaker players. So just trying to find the open holes is what our main issue is.
Now, how do you guys work on something like that in practice? Or is that more of an individual sort of mentality thing?
It's more of a depending on what the team plays. If they play rotational or perimeter, then you can easily find their open holes. If the setter drops back or pulls forward, then you have open spots on the floor. So it just depends on the defense.
Now let's talk the good, because it's always good to talk about the good. What did you see that was good last night that the Lady Lynx did, sort of that you guys need to remember that and take it forward the rest of the season?
We started off very strong. We had a 7-0 lead in the first part of the game, and our intensity, our energy was completely through the roof the first game, and we needed to carry that over into the second game. We were communicating, which we struggle with sometimes. We were hitting great, we were blocking great, our digs, our passes were all there. Everything was all in key. And then we just need to continue that. We just need to look back and think, this is what we're capable of, and just run off with it.
Now, going forward into the next game, we'll talk about that. You guys will travel and take on Lincoln Christian. What can we expect from Lincoln Christian? What can you guys expect from Lincoln Christian?
We can just expect them to be very scrappy. They were our first game, and we won in 5, but we just needed to learn how to put the ball away. We were trying to stray away from different players as we were hitting, and that's what we were doing our first game. But I think the more that we try to find those open holes, then it'll definitely be a different game than the first game.
Now, you talked about you guys did get the win. It was your first opponent you guys played this season. From a player's perspective, how do you they always say have instant amnesia, because whether something good or bad happens, you want to focus on the next one. How do you guys sort of put that out of your minds, that you guys already beat them and not necessarily overlook this team?
We try to take everyone with a grain of sand. You can't overestimate any team. So you have to play as if you have the target on your back or they have the target on their back. So you have to go full-fledged every point.
So after that game, you guys will head sort of into the latter stretch of your season. you know, the record is not what you guys obviously want it to be right now, but what can you guys do to sort of get the most out of the rest of this season and get the biggest takeaway going forward?
Honestly, we're heading into conference play right now, and that's all we honestly care about. Like, our record does not reflect how we play. We are such a young squad, and that is great because we are quick. Then they have 4 years left on the court. So we obviously have a young squad, and so I think that's just what one of the best thing is, and you just can't take any team lightly.
Now, you did mention you guys are heading in sort of into the heart of your conference play. The AMC in past years has had some pretty good volleyball teams. What can we expect from conference play this year, and is that sort of the same thing going forward in this season, good volleyball teams in the AMC?
Oh, definitely. The AMC is one of the toughest conferences in volleyball, and we're going to be playing Park, Columbia. We're playing Park soon, so that'll be a really good game. So we just take it as we go. Like, you can't take any team for lightly in the AMC for sure.
What do you have to do as a team to sort of dethrone some of these big-time teams up at the top?
We just play our game. We don't feel intimidated by anyone. We just play, and we just work our butts off, and that's how it works.
Well, as I said before, the Lady Lynx will travel to Lincoln Christian for their next upcoming game. The Lady Lynx did beat Lincoln Christian in their first game of the season. And Tori, thank you for joining us at the desk. Obviously, always great to get a player's perspective on things and get sort of the insight into the team. So thanks for joining us at the desk.
Thanks for having me.
As I said before, the Lady Lynx will travel and take on Lincoln Christian in their next matchup. So good luck, ladies.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
On to soccer action now, as both your men's and women's soccer teams were in action last week, both taking on Hannibal LaGrange at Hannibal LaGrange. And we'll start off with the men's soccer team. Quick recap of their last game. The Lynx do fall to 5-5 on the season, 2-3 in the American Midwest Conference as they fall 3-2 to Hannibal LaGrange. Despite 2 goals from Enrique Garcia, the Lynx concede the opening goal of the game just 65 seconds into the ball game. Now, the Lynx did score the equalizer 2 minutes later, so a 3-minute goal from Enrique Garcia. But the 2 goals were not enough as Nicholas Nicolaisi was back in this game after not playing in the past game with the injury. Nicolaisi gives up 3, and the Lynx dropped to 5-5 overall on the season, 2-3 in the American Midwest Conference. As you can see the league table pop up on your screen now, the Lynx actually drop out of the top 6 in the American Midwest Conference standings. It's been a rather tough season so far for Lindenwood Belleville men's soccer. The Lynx will come back home for their next matchup. Actually, tonight on Wednesday, the Lynx will take on William Woods, the Owls, here at home. Lynx have only lost once at home since 2012, and they will look to avoid that tonight at 7:15 p.m. as they will take on William Woods, looking to get above 500 again this season and move to 6-5 and even their record in the American Midwest Conference. On to women's soccer now, as the women's soccer team have been the complete opposite of the men's soccer team, getting out to a fast start on the season. They're coming off the unfortunate loss to Mobap in the AMC Game of the Week where they were shut out. They also were taking on Hannibal LaGrange, and this time the script was flipped from the men's game. Blanca Gomez scores twice as the Lindenwood Belleville Lady Lynx soccer team records the 4-1 victory. Lady Lynx coming off their first loss in the American Midwest Conference. They get that win right back from 2 first-half goals from Blanca Gomez. 6-4 on the year, 5-1 in the American Midwest Conference. And the Lady Lynx are looking like a force to be reckoned with in the AMC playing big-time soccer. They will host Missouri Baptist for the final game of a 4-game conference stretch coming up in their next matchup here at home. So good luck, ladies, and good luck to the men as they look to get back to 500 in the AMC. We will take a quick break, but when we return, we will have football, rugby, and basketball at the desk here as the busy week in Lynx sports continues. Stay tuned. This is the Sports Report on LBTV. And welcome back to the Sports Report on LBTV. Let's talk football now as Coach Carlson will join us at the desk. And Coach Carlson, welcome back.
Good to see you, Jake.
Good to see you too. It's been a busy week for you guys. Obviously your bye week. You guys are right in the midst of it. Well, coming off the bye week, I should say. It's game week now. You guys have MoBAP on the schedule. We talked about MoBAP the last time you were on the show a little bit about not wanting to overlook them because the Lynx have beat them in the past. This is MoBAP's second season. What can we expect from MoBAP this Saturday?
Well, you know, it's interesting. We thought we had a really good read on what they were doing, and then last week when they played Taylor University, they did some different things defensively, and they also have a new quarterback. They've been struggling at the quarterback position. So, you know, we're trying to look and say, okay, you know, a lot of zone on defense. This is what they're going to do on offense, but yet we still have a little bit of that uncertainty because of some changes and then what they did on defense against Taylor. So I think it's good that we had the bye week, so it's given us a little bit extra time, you know, to prepare and then also to put in the new wrinkles that they showed in the Taylor game and give us time to work on that as well.
Now, I've been at practice with you guys this past week, and one thing I've noticed is kind of in defensive prep, it seems like MoBAP maybe plays slightly a vanilla defense. Maybe that's sugarcoating it a little bit. But what can you tell us about their defense?
You know, it's interesting defensively, and as we talked about earlier, you know, they were kind of vanilla in the first 4 games of the season, and then versus Taylor this past week, played a lot more man coverage. They blitzed a lot more. I'm not sure if that's because Taylor had a lot of tight end, sometimes double tight, and they were trying to bring pressure, or the fact that Taylor, as much as they like to spread the field a little bit, still wants to run the ball, so they're trying to stop the run. So, you know, that's the going to be the interesting thing. And so we worked the first week against their zone coverages and mainly their base defense, and now we're adding in the blitz concepts and the man coverage, and just trying to make sure that we're prepared for kind of everything, because we don't really know at this point what they're going to do, simply because they've shown some different things here the last week.
Now, I do want to go back a little bit to the last game you guys did play, obviously the St. Francis game. Kind of an ugly game. How do you use the bye week as a coaching staff to sort of wipe everybody's memory of that game?
Well, we talked a lot about the fact that games like this will happen. I've been on both sides of those games before in the past, and we talked about how some of the better programs in our conference, St. Francis, Indiana, Marion, they had games like that, and it was kind of part of the building process of getting to where you need to be. We talked a lot about loyalty this week in terms of being a team and everybody sticking together. And I think the 2-week period off really helped us, one, because we're beat up a little bit, so it's going to allow us to get some players back from injury. Two, it allowed us to refocus on some fundamental things. The first part of last week was mainly not even focusing on what Missouri Baptist was going to do, but basically just on our offense and defense and our kicking game. So I think that helped us, and I have to say we had some really good practices. And so, as a coach, you're always optimistic going into a game, and I'm always cautiously optimistic no matter who we're playing. But we've prepared well. I really don't think there's been any hangover effects from the St. Francis game, but obviously we'll see that on Saturday when we get to game time. But I'm pretty pleased with how the week and a half has gone so far.
You touched on it a bit with what you just said about getting some guys back from injury. I know that you guys have some pretty big-time players on the injured list, most notably TJ Onstad. What can you tell us about some of these injured players?
Sure. Tyler McNair, looks like he'll be cleared to play. which will help our depth at at receiver. Hopefully James Brown will be back. He's still kind of on the tentative list right now. TJ is still out. We're waiting some results of some more tests, for him. And then we just had, just some nagging injuries, defensive line, Ming and Barlow, but they should be good to go, come Saturday. So I think the week off, really helped more so the guys with just those nagging injuries that, they can go, they can play, but, they're really not playing 100%. Hopefully we'll get those guys 100%. And having Tyler back definitely helps, as well as, hopefully James will be back and ready to play too.
Now, we talked about Mobab's defense. Let's talk about our defense for a minute, and I want to tie this into the TJ Onstad injury. I know we've talked about TJ before on the show since he's been injured, but as a coaching staff, does it change how you game plan? I know it changes a little bit, but when you're lacking one of your better defensive players, do you guys still go with the same philosophy, or do you have to change it completely?
Yeah, we haven't changed it completely. We, really are asking the other players, whether it's, Adrian Williams, James Bose has played a little bit, especially in passing downs. A couple other guys have been getting some reps in and out. It's more about making sure that those players can do the things they need to be successful. I don't think it's about changing philosophy. It's just about not putting them in a bad position. Now, the thing that TJ that we lost with him was kind of that glue, it kind of hold everything together, and just his leadership on the field. And that's hard to replace, especially at the middle linebacker spot. But, I think as we look at some of our other players defensively, I think Adrian stepped his play up. James Bose has really stepped up. And are trying to step into that role. So it's a work in progress, and we're going to continue to coach them and continue to get better. And as I told players, we've got half the season yet to go, and we've got some good opponents on the schedule, but we also have teams I think we match up with. So, we just got to take it one game at a time and just keep working to get better and just keep, fighting to get the play that we want to have and get the consistency that we've been lacking.
Now, you did talk about the big stretch upcoming, more than half the season left for your team. That half the season includes, like you said, some very big games. It's a very big stretch upcoming for the Lynx football team. Going forward, not just this season, but going forward into future seasons, what can good showings against these big-time teams do for this program?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and it's what I've been talking about all season, is, I'm looking for consistent, disciplined play. And the key thing I think that we have to develop as a team is that ability to not look at the scoreboard, not worry about what's going on, play the next play, play it as hard as you can, and then we'll figure it out when we get at the end of the game. And when we are focused on playing that play, playing that series, we do pretty well. I think sometimes we lose a little bit of that, and we worry too much about the scoreboard. And as we pointed out on our meetings on Sunday, you never know what's going to happen. And I think a great example, St. Francis, who got us pretty good, played Marion this past weekend, and Marion had a 42-28 lead or 42-26, whatever it was, and St. Francis came back and won 45, 46, 42, and that was going into the fourth quarter. So I think what that shows you is that you have to just keep playing. You never know what's going to happen. And if you play hard and go for 4 quarters. So that's really what I'm looking for as we continue to play and continue to develop, my program as the head football coach, is that ability to just be focused, play consistent, be disciplined, and then we'll figure it out at the end of the game.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time. We'll let you get back and get prepped for MOBAP this Saturday. The Lynx will travel to Missouri Baptist at 4 o'clock p.m. That is when the kickoff is. You can catch the game on 89.1 HD3 The Link. Justin Tourneau and I will be on the call. And speaking of Justin Tourneau, earlier this week he caught up at midfield with Devin Jackson to talk football prior to the bye week. Justin, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Jake. I'm here with Devin Jackson. I'm Justin Tourneau, and we're going to talk a little bit about this first part of the Lindenwood Lynx football season. So far, the Lynx are 1-3, with their first loss coming at home to Siena Heights. Then they went on the road to face Olivet Nazarene and had a tough victory there, winning 24-23. The Lynx then went on the road again to St. Ambrose University, and they suffered their second loss there. And then coming back to Belleville, the Lynx had a crushing defeat against St. Francis University, and one of the worst losses in school history. But right now the Lynx are on a bye, and the closest opponent right now on Saturday is Missouri Baptist. So, Devin, you are on the team. You're injured right now, but you are a starter on the team. What are your thoughts so far on this first part of the season?
Well, obviously, I feel like we can do much better than we have, the first couple of weeks, So, tough loss to Siena Heights. I felt like, in that loss, we had a couple of chances, make the game really close, but second half came out really flat and they kind of took over that game. Second game against Olivet, it was a great win for us and definitely built confidence. A tough, hard-fought win, and we had to, like Coach Carlson was preaching that whole week, play 60 minutes, a whole 60 minutes. So we definitely did that in that game, and it showed, when we play a full 60 minutes, we can execute and win football games. And then against St. Ambrose, just, came out flat from the beginning, and, too many turnovers in the first quarter. Put us in a hole early and really, made us have to, come out in the second half and play much better, but it obviously wasn't enough. And then, last game here in Belleville against St. Francis, just a tough loss. Once again had chances early in the game to really make a statement and keep the game competitive, but just couldn't execute, and turnovers and bad field position defensively and just, plagued us in that game. So, I'm feeling much better about our second half. We have some, last week on the bye week, we had some really good practices and really getting back to the basic stuff that we run offensively and defensively. Had some good competition between the offense and defense. And I feel really confident about our chances Saturday. And we just need to have another great week of practice this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the bye week is going to be really huge for you guys in moving forward. And I kind of just wanted to touch base on the offense real quick since you are an offensive player. It seemed as Jake and I have broadcasted the games, it seems like the offense has had a tough time getting going early on in games. We may be down 7, maybe 14, and it's been difficult for Terry and Austin and the Lynx offense to get drives going and put some pressure back on our opponent's defense. And I'm sure that in the bye week you guys worked on it a lot, but just tell us kind of what, from an offensive perspective, what you guys are doing to move forward.
Well, we just need to come out, ready to play and, have that sense of urgency, when our defense, allows a touchdown, that we need to come back and respond with a touchdown or at least a field goal, put points on the board to allow our defense to, recover. And, we've had too many 3-and-outs from my perspective that we, definitely don't need to start out the game. We need first downs. And I think the key for us is really converting third downs because, sometimes we put ourselves in third and manageable, third and 7, third and 5, and we just have to be able to execute, in the passing game especially. And over the bye week, our receivers and quarterbacks, we really worked on our timing and getting our routes down packed and making sure we know the plays, know the down and distance, and, make sure we're aware of that. So, offensively, we're trying to make sure we get first downs. That's the most important thing in our offense. We're in an air raid offense, so we like to go fast, but at the same time, we want to have time of possession, keep the ball moving. So that's something we really focus on this week.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, and let's take a look at a couple more questions for you. Take a look at the other side of the ball, the defense, and we've seen kind of a theme here for the Lynx in their first 4 games, and they're letting up a lot of points. And, I mean, it's kind of an argument both ways. The offense has to score to put on pressure, but the defense also has to get stops. And I know you're an offensive player, and you may not have may not be in all the defensive meetings and such, but what do you think needs to be a strong point in going forward with our Lindenwood defense?
Well, I think, first the offense has to help them out for sure. We don't help them when we have 3-and-outs in our own territory, on our 20-yard line. They get the ball around the 30, 40-yard line and, put themselves in position to drive down the field. But honestly, defensively, wrapping up for making sure that they ensure the tackles. In the St. Francis game, we had a lot of missed tackles. And even, for the first 4 games, we had a lot of missed tackles. So we've been working on that as well, when we go one-on-one versus ones in practice last week, we made sure we tackled and make sure we wrapped up, make sure, everybody flies to the ball. And that's another thing we need to make sure defensively everybody flies to the ball and make sure that we rally around the ball carrier and make sure he doesn't get too many yards after contact. So that's, key points defensively. They're not going to do anything much different than they have been in the first 4 games, like, coverage-wise or blitzing and stuff like that. It's just more about the fundamentals.
Yeah, that kind of seems like a theme that you're kind of getting at with the bye week, is that our Lynx are going to be getting back to the basics and the fundamentals of playing football, and I think that'll be very beneficial to you guys. But one more question here for you, Devin. You had your bye week. Have worked very hard in that bye week, and you have Missouri Baptist coming up. It is their second year of football, and I'm not sure what their record is, but I know we got a win against them last year. And what are you guys looking for in that game, going into that game?
Well, we're looking for a very competitive game, It's basically our rival. They're 30 minutes away. We treat it as a rivalry game, Recruits, trying to decide between Missouri Baptist and Lindenwood Belleville. And obviously we need to win this game not only, for our own sake, but, for the recruits in the future to show that, Lindenwood Belleville, we're a relevant program in this area, and we're going to continue to grow and get better. So I feel like, this game is very important for us, not only in the conference, but also just, for recruiting and just, for our own sake. So I feel like, we can't take them lightly at all. Just because we beat them last year doesn't mean anything. It's a new year. They have new players. So I feel like we need to, mesh together as a team and really come together, something we haven't done much in the first 4 games, and really play together as a unit and, just go out and dominate on Saturday. It's at Missouri Baptist. So, we, go on the road and get another road victory, and really help build confidence and really set us off on a good note coming off the bye week.
Yeah, hopefully this game can be a big stepping stone and a big win for you guys to build momentum as you hit a very tough stretch of games against, I believe, 4 ranked opponents coming up after that Missouri Baptist game. But with Devin Jackson, I'm Justin Turneau, and we're going to send it back to Jake in the studio.
Thank you, Justin. Great insight there from Devin Jackson, one of the star football players of the team.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to theshelterpetproject.org and meet a few who are in a shelter near you. Harlow. Oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to theshelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
And on to rugby now. The men's rugby team here is enjoying a lot of success in its first year on campus. Currently, they sit number 11 in the nation, nationally ranked and undefeated. They headed into a big matchup at home this past Saturday against DePaul University, looking to maintain that number 11 spot in the nation. And also, first-round home field advantage in the WIIL playoffs was on the line for the Lynx. And as the graphic will pop up on your screen, you can see the Lynx did beat DePaul 36-0. Huge win. They shut them out. Big time win for the Lynx. As I said, they maintain that undefeated record and potentially will move up in the newest national rankings. And now let's welcome on head coach of the men's rugby team, Pat Clifton, to the desk. And Coach Clifton, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Happy to be here. My first time on this desk, so we must be doing something right.
Right, exactly. Well, the rugby team is, as I said before, enjoying a lot of success here on campus in its first season. You guys sort of reminiscent of hockey last season in its first year, doing a lot of big things. You guys sit number 11 in the nation, but before we sort of dive into the specifics, for the people that don't really know about rugby that watch this show, what can you tell us about the sport of rugby, just a little bit of general information?
I think the best way to explain it is it's somewhere on the evolutionary timeline between soccer and football. So it evolved directly out of soccer in the early 1800s, and then American football, as you know it today, evolved directly out of it on the Ivy League fields in the late 1800s. So you've got some of the physicality of football, the tackling and some of that stuff, the running and the stiff arming and all the fun stuff you like about football, but some of the creativity and some of the ingenuity that you like about soccer. We kick, we tackle, we run, we do. There's elements of a little bit of both in that.
Well, as I said, it's a very interesting sport, and there's so many, I guess, folds you could call it to the sport you learn as you do a rugby game. Let's sort of dive in now to your team specifically, and you guys are doing very well for yourselves so
Thank
far.
you.
What impresses you the most about this first-year team?
It's got to be that we're basically a group of 18-year-old freshmen from different places. So they hadn't really met each other, most of them, before 2 weeks before the first game. So the way that they've come together, the way they've committed to it, the way that they've bought in, for a bunch of 18-year-old kids, mostly, we've got some transfer kids, to be able to compete against 22, 23, 24-year-old men right away and win some games has been the most impressive part.
Now let's get to the DePaul game. I know you guys have a big game against Northwestern this weekend. We will preview that in a minute or two. Let's get to the DePaul game and kind of recap that for the people that didn't watch or didn't come to the game. Talking to Christian Paletti, actually broadcasting with Christian Paletti over the weekend, one of the things that stood out to him the most was in the first half, it was kind of sloppy play. What can you tell us about that?
That's without a doubt. The first 5-10 minutes, I thought we came out and played pretty well, pretty sharp in our execution, and got a couple tries up, and I think we got complacent after that and didn't maintain the ball very well. We didn't hold on to it very well and allowed them to play most of the offense. And so, yeah, we played a lot of defense, and they were pretty sloppy on offense. So that's what you saw. And we were sloppy when we did have the ball. So that's what the first half looked like, and we fixed it, towards the end of the second half.
Now, I want to touch on something you talked about. You guys played defense for a lot of the first half. I mean, obviously rugby probably in that regard is very similar to other sports. You don't want to play defense all the time. But how does that negatively impact your team if you're on the defensive the whole time?
I think the biggest thing it does is it just wears you out. Playing offense is a lot more, is a lot easier on your body versus defense. You have to get up, and it just takes a bigger toll. So if you play, the longer you play defense, the more tired you're going to be towards the end of the game. We're pretty fit, so we think we can withstand a lot of that. But obviously, if you don't have the ball, you can't score. So it also prevents you from being able to increase the lead. But I think the biggest thing is fatigue that you have to worry about if you're playing too much defense.
Now, during the week leading up to a game, sort of in game prep, how do you guys correct the sloppy mistakes and mental errors?
Well, that's a good question. We're still a work in progress for sure. We've had a lot of 2-week games. Traditionally rugby is very much like football in that you play one game a week, and to get up to snuff quicker, we've played a lot of midweek games and Saturday games, and so that's been a struggle, recovering health-wise and also getting out and making sure we're getting reps, getting better at things. So that's a work in progress, but we watch film just like anybody else, and we critique ourselves, and we pick 3 or 4 coaching areas every week that we think we can really improve and get better at, and we focus on them.
Now let's go ahead and fast forward to the Northwestern game. Obviously, big clash up in Chicago with Northwestern. What can you expect from this Northwestern rugby squad?
Well, they're going to be bigger than us, just like every team. So we're literally the smallest team on the field every time we go up, and we expect that with Northwestern, obviously a big university. We expect that they're going to be tough around the breakdown, so around the tackle areas, and we expect that they are going to want to win at home. So all of those things add up to we've got to work pretty hard and do some good things to get a W.
Now, you talk about all the teams sort of in your guys' conference are bigger than you guys. I know you guys are nationally ranked, but do you guys sort of take pride in kind of playing almost the underdog role in that regard?
It's a little bit, I don't know that we're necessarily the underdog. Because of the way Lindenwood St. Charles was successful in their first year, and we share the name Lindenwood, I think people expect some things from us, whether that's a fair comparison or not. So we go into a game, it may be a team that expects us to be a bunch of freshmen and not play really well, or maybe a team that expects us to be full of foreign talent, which we're not, and be really, really good. So it just depends. So sometimes we're the underdog, and sometimes we got the target on our backs. But we knew that. We've talked about that, and so we tried just to focus on us doing as well as we possibly can.
Now, before we let you go, Coach, last question. I want to talk about Northern Iowa, because obviously you guys are tied up atop the conference standings right now. What's it going to take to beat this Northern Iowa team? We're
going to need to be healthy, which we're not really healthy right now. So hopefully we can heal up over the next week and a half, and we're going to have to play really disciplined rugby. So they're a better team than we've played in probably close to a month. And so we're going to have to play really disciplined. We're going to have to play, really fast, which is our big attribute, is our speed, and just come out and expect them to be as good as they are. And I think that we'll do all those things and have a really good shot at winning home on that Friday night. We got a lot of recruits in town, so hopefully we can get a W for them.
Well, hey, good luck this weekend, Coach. Good luck in that game, and good luck the rest of the season. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
The men's rugby team will travel up to Chicago this Saturday to take on Northwestern. Good luck, guys. And now on to basketball as we'll welcome in assistant graduate coach Lawson Warren to the desk. And Lawson, basketball season right around the corner. I can't believe it. It almost seems just like the other day that I was traveling with you guys, calling basketball games, and already a whole new roster. I want to ask you this question first, because being a graduate assistant, how weird is it to go from playing and wearing the jersey to now sitting on the sideline and being in one of the suits?
It's different. I'd like to think I'm making the adjustment pretty well. I played with a lot of these guys. I think a good thing is we have a lot of new guys that never really saw me as a teammate and things like that. So I think it's been a pretty smooth adjustment so far, and I'm excited to actually get to more into the season and get things rolling. So
now it's getting very close this season. You guys will kick off the season against Southwest Christian, I think in about 2 weeks here at home. I want to talk about the roster here for a second. And without sort of naming individual players, overall, as a whole, we've had a lot of turnover. We've lost guys to graduation, lost guys to transfer. But we've brought a lot of guys in, and we still retain some of that core from last year. How are they looking so far in practice?
Practice has been going really well. All the guys, you can tell they enjoy being around each other. They like working hard. So from that aspect, it's great. And like you said, we do have some core guys back. That is big. Colin Mingo's returning as a fifth-year guy. Justin's a fifth-year guy. So we have some guys back to kind of show the newer guys the ropes. Yeah. But I would say we have the newer guys. We'll have an exciting team. We have a lot of size, and everything's looking good so far.
Now the size is one thing I do want to talk about. The two things I've heard around the team so far is size and athleticism. We'll talk size first, because as you run down the roster, you can already see Joey De La Rosa, 7-foot-tall transfer from St. John's University. How big is that? Not big as far as size-wise, but big for the program to not only bring in a guy that's 7 foot tall, but also from a major Division I university that's known for basketball.
Right. It's big. It does great things for us, just from even outside of basketball. Just having the public, see that. We've already had a lot of interest. People are seeing. Belleville News Democrat ran an article online, and people saw that, and there's a lot of interest from that. So, not even to mention the kind of impact it'll have on the court. It does a lot for us from a marketing standpoint. So, so we're excited to have him for sure.
Now, athleticism is the other one that Coach Spinner has sort of hit on. I know on the Lindenwood Lynx athletics page, it talks about some of these guys are the most athletic players in a Lynx uniform. How athletic is this team going to be this year?
He's absolutely right. I would say T.J. Jackson is easily the most athletic player we've had in this program. I mean, if you come to anyone who comes to a practice, they're just kind of blown away. He dunks everything, and he's not the only one. Just across the board, our athleticism has improved, drastically from last year. So I think we'll have a very exciting team on the court, and the fans can kind of be excited to come to a game and see some impressive plays.
Now, I want to talk about Andrew Doobie. There was a really good piece on LindenwoodLynx.com, actually, so check that out. It's actually on Doobie. Sort of an interesting story around Doobie. Obviously, he has the relation to Quincy Doobie, former NBA player, being his younger brother. What does Doobie bring to the table, being the first season and only season he'll play in a Lynx uniform?
He's just a flat-out scorer. He can score the ball in so many ways. He can create a shot. Really, he can just do it all. He can post up. He can shoot. He can just score in a plethora of ways. And I think it's going to be good for us because really, he's been out for about a year and a half now. Teams we play won't really know what to expect from him. Exactly. So I think he gives us a huge scoring presence, in the loss of Craig especially. So we're really excited to have him too.
Now, I like that you touched on Craig because there's 3 names that are noticeably absent from this year's roster, and Craig being number 1, Javon, and Noel. How did the loss of those 3 guys combined hurt the team?
It did. Anytime you lose a 2-time All-American, obviously, is huge. And then the other 2 guys, we're going to miss them as well. But we did a good job replacing them with all the talent we brought in this year. So it stings a little bit, but I think we have guys that can come in, make a huge impact immediately, and kind of just step into the roles that we lost from those guys.
Now, being a couple weeks out from the opening game against Southwest Christian, you guys did take on Southwest Christian last year at their place in Oklahoma City and did lose. What are you expecting from Southwest Christian? And also, sort of double question here, have you guys even started looking toward that game and prepping for that game specifically?
I would say, from a coach's standpoint, we've done some very preliminary, digging to kind of see what they have. And I can tell you there's been a lot of turnover there. They have a new head coach and a lot of new players. Fully, assistant coaches are new. So we're expecting a different team than we saw last year. We haven't started prepping with the team, but once we get closer, we'll start to get a better handle on them. But yeah, I can tell you there will be a different look to them this year. So we're kind of still figuring them out right now.
Now, before I let you go, Lawson, I do want to talk about something, and don't get mad at me, maybe exposing a couple little secrets here. But what's this I've heard about new uniforms for the Lynx basketball team this year? What can you tell us on that?
I can tell you we do, we returned the home and the away, just those jerseys. We have those back this year. And then we do have a third alternate jersey for the first time this year. I don't, my 4 years here, we never had a third alternate jersey. It's just how it goes, I guess. So they're very nice. The guys are really excited about it. So, yeah, I won't give anything away, but we'll have to unleash them at a couple home games this year.
Well, I'm excited. I know everyone else is, and I'm sure here in a couple weeks that the Lynx Arena is going to be rocking on that Friday night when Southwest Christian comes to town to play the Lynx. So good luck with the season, Lawson. Thanks for joining us at the desk, and I'm sure we'll have you and the rest of the coaching staff back down here a lot this coming basketball season, talking about this extremely athletic basketball team.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's all we have for the Sports Report on LBTV today. Thank you for joining us. Next week we will talk football, soccer, and a whole host of other Lynx sports. So don't forget to tune in, same time, same place. For everyone at LBTV, I'm Jake Griffith. Until next time, everyone.